Hello, everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Doze, and I am joined by stalwart co-host Eric Taskey to break down the latest issue of Mortal Thor as we get closer and closer. We inch nearly 2-ish months away from the large 800 issue. This is the penultimate tale in our story that's happening on Midgard. We have another issue coming up very soon. It takes us back to Asgard, but this is where we are in our Sigurd story. Eric, we got to learn a lot about the Minotaur in the last issue. We learned a lot about Blake in this issue. What were your first impressions of Mortal Thor 12?
Oh my goodness. This was to me something of a bombshell. I don't know if that is maybe too strong a word, but we got a lot of revelations.
There's a big
little
reveal.
a little bit of retconning possibly, and a reveal of a baddie that I wasn't even expecting. And so a lot to dig into here.
Right as you said bombshell, I was like, is it a bombshell? Actually, for the sake of our story, yes, because it explains a lot of Blake and his backstory. Like I said, it kind of retcons a little bit, potentially going back all the way to Donny Cates' run of Thor. So we're going to do a little bit of, you've done a little bit of homework. We're going to do a little bit of inspection on what this issue gives us going forward. As, like I said, we're just a few issues away from the large 800th anniversary issue. Well, let's dig into the story. I'll give a little bit of an overview, and we will pick this one apart, and we will give you our thoughts on it. So this issue was written by Ewing, and the art was by guest artist Jesus Saez. Again, Pascal Ferry, I'm sure, is cooking up something fantastic for us all to munch on with number 800. And we have colors by Matt Milla, and BC's Josepino is doing our lettering, and Will Moss always editing. We got another, I think this is a top tier cover from Alex Ross.
Oh yeah.
Blake with his I can't help but say it the way we've been saying.
That's right.
His gooey eye sockets.
Yes.
But this time, in his right eye socket is our classic Thor, and in the left eye socket is Sigurd Jarlson crawling out of Blake. So it's a weird, gross, but very cool cover. And speaking of Blake, we start off the story with Blake inside of his mind dimension, his little pocket dimension that Odin made for him. And he is discussing with the Midgard Serpent, who is the dragon, who is the man, whose soul belongs to who. And then we come back to the present, and Sigurd is face to face with Blake like we left off in the previous issue. And Blake starts to both have a discussion with Sigurd, but also he's trying to kick his ass simultaneously as well. And we learn things about Blake in this conversation. And then the big reveal comes, the bombshell comes, where Blake's skin peels away in this gross full page, fantastic piece of artwork from Jesus Saez. And he, a la Fing Fang Foom, all the way back in Walt Simonson's run of Thor, he sheds the outer exterior of Blake, and we see the Midgard Serpent come through in all of his gross, nasty goodness. Then we see Sigurd run away. He does a harrowing escape from the penthouse room, and he goes all the way down to the ground. But unlike Dario Agger, he does not hit the sidewalk. He is able to save himself with just inches to spare with the sidewalk underneath him. And we then quickly transition to Chris and Lucky having a discussion of who is to blame for what's happening to Sigurd. Should Chris have just left him alone? Is Lucky to blame because Lucky brought Sigurd to her door and he was the one that kind of set up this life for him? Well, we don't get any conclusion to that conversation because Odin, as he is wont to do, interrupts, and he has some thoughts about how Lucky has conducted himself as of late. He keeps the trickster in his crosshairs, and then at the end we do get a reveal that the Midgard Serpent is here, and he is in the sky above the city, and it's time for judgment. And the world worm makes himself fully known as we conclude this issue. And like I just referenced there, the name of this issue is the world worm. And like I think this issue, just like for starters, Eric, I think this issue really, really delivered on taking us from street level to epic higher scale in the span of just 20 plus pages.
Yeah.
The scale got blown up big time. But where do you want to start with your take on this latest issue?
Oh my gosh. So I just want everyone to realize, like, this is a massive reveal.
Right.
This is a massive, like, and it like you said, it goes back to Donny Cates's run. We get insights to key moments in that of when back in the Donny Cates run, we learned that Jormungandr, the Midgard Serpent, breaks into the Donny Cates sort of dream dimension realm, and that not the Donny, yeah, no, the Donald Blake dream dimension. Cates has his own dream dimension. He can write whatever dream dimension
I'm sure he
wants.
does.
And we thought that Blake, who had gone crazy, straight up murdered the Midgard Serpent, which was a kind of a tough pill to swallow because that shouldn't be able to happen. He must have gone really mad to be able to take on this, this epic end boss here. And so we kind of realized that was all the Midgard Serpent's plan all along, is that he kind of was going to corrupt Blake, and that this has actually been the Midgard Serpent wearing a Donald Blake shell this whole time. I mean, that kind of retcons the whole Donald Blake goes on a murdering spree. It's really the Midgard Serpent in there, and that Donald Blake's soul is maybe in the passenger seat, right? And so it's really kind of redeeming Donald Blake. We thought Donald Blake was an asshole now, and maybe he's not. Maybe he was kind of hijacked by this Midgard Serpent's plan, and that is going to let him then come back, and we don't have to forgive the Donald Blake that was scalpeling people. And it also makes
an intense storyline.
It was intense. And this also means that Loki wasn't dripping venom into the eyes of Donald Blake. Loki might have been punishing the Midgard Serpent. And so it kind of, it adds a lot of layers to this. That it's going to let us, and what I think is going to be happening is I think Donald Blake is going to be coming back as the shadow of Thor, and that they're going to be doing some switching, and it's going to be the construction worker Donald Blake in the form of Sigurd Jarlson, right?
Right.
And so in order for us as fans to really kind of forgive Donald Blake, we need to have a massive change, because we can't just be like, oh, he got better. Like, he was murderous and now he's not. So I think that this, to me, is a big enough swing that it's making my mind open to a lot of possibilities. And there's some wibbly wobbly stuff in here, right? There's a lot of sort of, there's plenty of gray area that Al Ewing is painting for himself here, where he says all stories are one story and all endings are the same ending. And who can say, is it a dragon in the body of a man, or a man that took the soul of a dragon? Who's to say, right? So that gives enough leeway to be like, just go along with it because it's a cool narrative and it's all going to work out fine. So no, I thought I just didn't want to bury the lead. That was a massive retcon, really. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, and if they double down on that, and then if it kind of, and also I want to know how fans are going to react. Does that kind of negate that second act of the Cates run, or is that still fine because of the wibbly wobbliness of it?
Well, I think I agree with you. I think Al did this in a way where he can make it be whatever he wants it to be in the end. And I love that. Like, he leaves himself some gray area, some neutral area to play around with. I feel like he's almost the entire issue asking us, would you know more? And we're like, yeah, of course. He's like, me too, guys. He's like, I'm sorry.
Say? I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, I'm just a writer. Like, you're supposed to tell us. But I love when he kind of like, after having interviewed him and kind of getting his vibe like firsthand over that, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, he kind of loves messing with things and being a little whimsical and
Yeah.
mysterious about this. So the reveal that we got may not even be the final reveal that we were with at the end of this story. And I think I love and loathe him for that, because I love it because it's not as simple as it seems, but I loathe it because I'm like, what? I don't know what anything means right now. I'm
Yeah.
still very lost.
Well, but okay. And the other big reveal, not just that the Midgard Serpent was behind all the evil Blake stuff, but we know definitively now who
Oh,
Sigurd Jarlson is.
yes.
Sigurd Jarlson is the reincarnation of Donald Blake's human soul. And so this whole time we've been thinking gooey eye sockets over here is the evil Don Blake. Really, Sigurd has been the soul of Blake all along, and gooey eye sockets has been Jormungand, the Midgard Serpent, Loki's offspring. And I also just wanted to say I did a little bit of homework on this. And if that's the case, this actually makes this Mortal Thor run, it makes it the longest continuous like Jormungander arc that we've ever had. Because he usually just shows up as like a big bad kaiju to fulfill the Ragnarok promise, right? Or the prophecy. And so a little bit more about Jormungand, the Midgard Serpent. First appearance in Thor 127, February 1966, in a Tales of Asgard run. It was just one panel in the back, and he was bright red at the time. He's gone through some different looks over the years. There is a quick appearance where Thor and Hymir go fishing for the serpent with a bull's head in Thor 273. Very cool. You can this is how you find him. You can go fishing off the side of a boat and just with a cow's head and you'll get him.
Right.
Thor and Red Norvel fight the serpent in 278 and Red dies instead of Thor. So that is another version of fulfilling the Ragnarok promise that Thor and the serpent kill each other. And so Red Norvel died in that instance of it because he was sort of acting as Thor in that moment. In 327, there's a awesome story where Thor fights the serpent in space and goes fishing off the side of a boat in space. And the serpent is literally encircling the globe. You could see Earth. This little tiny ball and the serpent's all the way wrapped around it. One of the coolest issues, 327, not to be overlooked, with some cool Midgard Serpent action. And then the famous Walt Simonson run. So I think it was obviously 380 is the big oops all splash pages. Yeah. Epic battle, one of the most epic comics of all times, featuring the Midgard Serpent. So it must have been 379 where he comes busting out of the Fin Fang Foom skin.
Yeah.
And so this is like what you were talking about. This, like, there's no way this could fit inside that size body.
Right.
That's canon, my friends. Like that's one of his tricks. He comes out of a skin suit that's way too small.
He is the embodiment. He is the Thor equivalent of, well, like, oh, but it's bigger on the inside.
He's bigger on the inside.
I think this is what's kind of crazy, because I think the Jesus Saez version of the serpent here, and because you did this research, because I'm familiar enough with the serpent throughout its different iterations, it's taken on many different looks throughout the years. Sometimes it's more of like an Eastern dragon. Sometimes it's more of a classical European style dragon. What do you think of this design Saez went with in this, Eric? I'm more of a fan of the Shenron Dragon Ball Z version of the serpent, but what did you think of this version we got here?
What I liked about it was I liked the clever way to show the length of it, because this thing is supposed to be so incredibly epically long that how do you even do that in a comic? And so I think on the double page spread, we see the dragon's body sort of weaving back across the sky into the horizon. That really works for me to sell some of the length here, because it is, like you said, it's sort of like that Shenron dragon look. It's a really long, wiggly worm kind of dragon. It's not like a, dinosaur looking dragon.
Yeah. And Simonson does a little bit of that in the iconic Oops All Splash Pages one, where he just shows it zigzagging into the horizon, and our mind implies that, or implies the effect of, oh well, it just keeps going. I agree. It's a good tiny trick. Not, like, you don't need to be a doctoral student to figure it out, but like it is a nice trick because the whole thing is that you're right. The serpent encircles the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. What did you think about the transformation? I think this was my favorite part of the issue was when Blake is already kind of like a horrifying design of a character, like an eyeless, always looks like his eyes are bleeding green. And that goes back to Cates's, run of the venom being dripped into the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a little unsettling, that page. I'm looking at the splash page right now of Blake's, his suit jacket comes open, and instead of like a shirt or his bare chest, it's the eye of the serpent coming through his chest. That was my favorite page of the whole issue. What did you think of the transformation?
Well, and that page, it could be construed as kind of goofy because if you think about it, I mean, it's almost like he's looking through a tear in like a dimensional portal because there's no way the rest of his face fits inside that shell. It's almost like that's impossible. But that makes it very striking. So, but just the idea of this skin suit's face splitting down the center is so gross, but also good riddance because that skin suit was damaged and icky anyway, and so you don't need it anymore.
The dented can at the grocery store. Like,
it was the dented can.
Do you really want that?
Yeah. So I really liked the giant face coming through. That was so much fun. I was smiling when I was reading that because again, I was just thinking back to him like in disguise as Fin Fang Foom and ripping through the suit to be like, haha,
peekaboo.
Yeah.
What were some of your other favorite parts you want to dig into, Eric? Because there were several different, like, we haven't even talked really about Chris, Lucky, Odin, or Sigurd all that much and what he actually did in this issue. So where do you want to go next?
Yeah, well, I mean, just some things I think that are really, really clever from a writing point of view is that we do get some clarity that Chris really is in love with Sigurd, but not because they're being mind controlled. There's this little bit of wiggle room that we get from narratively where it's like, oh, well, we didn't like make you fall in love with him. We kind of like made him be neighbors with you, but nothing is happening against your will. So we're all
you made
good
your
there.
own decisions.
Right. Just in case there was any doubt. And then I want to know more about Odin because, we've been used to Odin really meddling ever since probably Banner of War. He's really not been meddling that much. And so now he's like, is he going to step in here? He keeps saying he's not going to, but I feel like Odin's going to do something. And I could almost just see him coming back and being like, enough is enough. And I'm going to, bind Blake's soul back to Thor and we're going to have issue 800. I don't know if that would be the case, but I feel like Odin is not as out of the picture as I thought he would be by this point. So,
I mean, he kind of takes over he becomes the driving force in the back half of this issue. Yeah. Once he pops into Lucky and Chris's conversation, he's like, okay, you know what? I like sometimes he intervenes. What's in typical Odin fashion? He intervenes in this conversation and says, sometimes you just got to let your kids kind of fall on their faces. It's like, I feel like you're around a lot for that to be happening.
Yeah.
Like, so is this like, do you think this is more typical Odin stuff? Or do you think is there actually a plan here? Or is he just going to get mad at one point and be like, fine, all the souls go back in one pot? What do you think is going to actually come of this?
I mean, so there's a part of me where deep down I'm like, wouldn't it be simpler if Odin was just out of the picture? And can't we just tell Thor stories where Odin's not involved? Because I don't think anybody loves it when the answer is Odin snaps his fingers and fixes stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's never satisfying and easy. And I don't think, and I think Al Ewing knows that. So I think if he was going to have Odin do something, he's going to have a really good reason for it, or it's going to be built up to it. But I'm still at the point where it's like, I could still use less Odin in my life. Like I don't need him. So I'm wondering.
You and me both, man.
is this a return to status quo? Is this going to be? I thought it was going to be Odin is the Wanderer and be like, see you later, buddy, and off you go. But he's really kind of been around a lot, and so I get the feeling, not that he's going to go back to being the king of Asgard, but he still has a lot left to play out in this story, and he is still fairly powerful for somebody who claims to have given the all power over to his son like multiple times. He seems to have a lot of power still left.
Just, it's like, do you have the Odin force or the all power anymore, or do you not? Because it kind of feels like you gave Thor all of your power, but wink, wink, not really. And it's like, wouldn't that be the most Odin douchey thing to do? Just like, I gave it all to you. It's like, but I didn't give you all the power I told you about. I only gave you all the power that I told you about. Eric, is there any other aspect of the issue that you want to hit before we conclude our thoughts on this and look forward a little bit to 799, Mortal Thor 13, which is a Tales of Asgard issue, and then speculate maybe a little bit of how 800 is going to be affected by what happened in this issue?
Yeah, well, just a small detail that it looks like the hammer is left inside this office building, because when he smashes it through the window, bungee cord gets cut, and so the hammer does not come down with him. Not that he, needs it because he's under arrest right now, so he's not going to like fight his way out of that. But
we do see at the end and it's good reference. I forgot that in my synopsis, that when Sigurd reaches the ground, there's this little issue of the Minotaur Dario Agger dying that the cops are apparently going to look into. It's an important thing that they feel needs to be answered for. When Sigurd drops to the ground, there's these great narration bubbles that say that he'll fall to his death, and then he's like inches away from the ground. He's like, but not today. Gets arrested for presumably the murder of Dario Agger. And it'll be interesting to see like how we get from him in police custody again, second time in this run of Mortal Thor, to the reveal by Odin that the World Serpent is here and is in the sky above New York City. I think there are going to be a lot of connective tissues that will kind of be illuminated once we get to 800. I mean, but yeah, the synopsis for the next issue. Go ahead and read it real quick for you all. It's a fantastic Alex Ross cover of Magni with the Enchantress and Uller in the background, and I love that this cover harkens back to a previous cover in the run of Thor sitting on the throne and being in a more relaxed posed.
He was manspreading. Yeah, on the subway. The subway, it's called manspreading.
I was trying to put it delicately. Eric cuts through all of that and like, let's not stand on ceremony here. Manspreading. Magni is doing the same, like father, like son. And it says, a final tale of Asgard, ? Wrought with sorrow, chained by his mother's schemes, Magni accepts the weight of the throne of Asgard as the forces of doom and death gather about him. Can he escape his destiny, or would his fall bring a new Ragnarok? This is the story of the son of Thor and the fate of the Golden Realm. Well, I mean, that is almost Stan Lee-esque hyperbole. We have the fate of the throne of Asgard, the fate of Magni, the fate of Ragnarok coming. Eric, do you get anything from this, knowing where we left Magni last time? Did you get anything from this solicitation that you're like, ooh, that part actually does intrigue me a little bit?
I'm just trying to understand, are they going to merge these stories at issue 800? Is this going to come together somehow? Because the bridge is still broken. They're still very separate. They don't really have a way to communicate with each other. And I'm trying to figure out how that's all involved. I'm picturing in my mind, there's going to be like some pivotal moment where because we know Magni has already started tapping into the all power, the Magni force a little. So where's that going to go? How do we get Thor back? We all think Thor's coming back at issue 800. Why? That seems like a time to do it if you were going to do it. But
they're still do it at 803.
803, Thor is back. So There's a lot of questions. There's a lot that still needs to be wrapped up on
Yeah,
both ends. And so I hope we get a lot of progression. It seems to me like this is going to be an issue that really moves the story along as opposed to one
right.
that is sort of just kind of giving colorful commentary. I think we're going to get a lot of things resolved, hopefully, in this issue right before the 800 milestone.
I think I agree with you on that last part. Just to piggyback off of it a little bit, I think a lot of the Asgard side of the rift is going to be explained in that we're we're going to do a lot of heavy lifting in this to get us to where we need Asgard to be so that they can interact with the Midgard story come issue 800. I just don't see how you do an issue 800 big milestone number without Thor connected to Asgard in some way. Like,
Yeah.
but again, I have no idea how we get there. And
do you think Magni's going to die? Do you think Magni's going to bite the dust in this next issue?
see, to me, the emotional weight wouldn't be there yet because we've gotten what 3 issues with Magni since
I mean, he's been around a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more you can do with this character.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I kind of always feel that with characters that we get attached to and we feel potential towards. But I mean, maybe he makes a sacrifice play and somehow that magically recreates the Bifrost. I don't know. I have no idea how we are going to get there. It just feels like this next issue has to do the heavy lifting to get us to 800.
Yeah.
And I am very excited and very intrigued to know how Al's going to do that. Anything else you want to say before we shut Mortal Thor 12 down, Eric?
Just that, I mean, it's a really cool Midgard Serpent issue, potentially, and it's still early. This could be potentially one of the most, infamous Midgard Serpent runs.
Yeah.
Where we see him in, the slow build to a big finale. And so
right.
I did not have Showdown with Jormungandr on my bingo card.
Right.
But hey, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I absolutely. There's tons to dig into, tons of questions to be asked, just like a good Al Ewing issue. And in the middle of a run, when we get to the end, we will have all of our answers. But right now, we are still in the middle, second act, third. Where the heck are we? I don't know. In his grand master plan, but just if you're out there and you enjoyed this review, give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you are finding this. Leave a review. We would love to read some reviews on one of our episodes. And if you want more of Across the Bifrost, you can connect with us on Instagram, on Discord, and the links are in the episode description. And if you're feeling extra generous and you want some early episodes, some bonus episodes, click the Patreon link there, join the Thor Corps, and those will be given to you when we have them ahead of schedule for the main feed. But just remember, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, no matter how the summer is treating you, whether you are like Blake and you've seen better days, or if you're like Sigurd and you're like, I'm feeling good, but like, it's getting a little hot in here. Like the pressure is kind of on. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we just encourage you to do one thing, and that is stay worthy. Bum, 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 bum.
Bum, bum, bum.